Hi, this is Sebastian Mueller. This is AJ, Nadine. We got Ryan and Kip on the phone, and Alejandra. And this is for speech number 2. Okay. As an American living with rights that were given to me at birth, it's hard to imagine a government that could take those rights away and force me to do what is considered socially acceptable, even if I don't want to. The women of Iran, an entire country of mothers, daughters, first responders, workers, and thinkers, haven't been granted their freedom to present themselves how they want to, because that is how the government chooses to keep its freedoms for the public and its citizens. Governments should grant their people inalienable rights and support its citizens without inserting itself into their social and personal lives. The right to protest should also be given to the people in order to fix broken or cruel ways within the government. In the case of Iran and its proud and strong women, the right to present themselves and how they want to and have more independence from the government is the right they deserve and are fighting for. The hijab should be a choice, not a requirement. Iranian women are dying for their beliefs through protest. So, first off, I don't know if you know Mahsa Amini, but she died on the 16th of September in the hospital after she was arrested for not wearing her hijab in public. Her death sparked outrage within Iran and is the big leading cause of the current protest. She is now a symbol of courage and the rage of the public, as the government's unwillingness is to accept her freedom, which resulted in her death. Protesters have been mourning Mahsa Amini's death near the site of her arrest in the thousands, and which have been broken up and attacked by both security and police forces. There was a reporter, Arshin Abib Moghadam, who told the NBC News that any effort to shut down the legitimate right to mourn the death of an innocent civilian was always likely to fan the flames of resistance even further. So this shows that the higher the death toll rises, which is now well above 230 citizens, who are all innocent protesters, the stronger and the more purpose the entire protest has. So all the death and violence is a root cause, which is the government. Their attempts to keep the power they have held for decades is the reasoning behind enforcing the violence and mandatory dress codes across Iran. The Iranian government is desperately using deceit and backhanded attempts to destabilize the protesters and their causes in order to keep their image of social laws and religious laws in order. The chief leaders of the Islamic military are blaming terrorist attacks on the protesters, and they're saying that they were deceived by Iran's enemies and have been the main cause of civil unrest. Deceitful tactics such as these are the root cause of how Iran's military is able to enforce its power and trick the public into believing that the government is there to protect them. This is all just a ploy and power grab for the government to shut down anyone who plans to work against them, namely the protesters, and enforce dress codes such as the hijab. By shifting the blame, the protesters have even more reason to protest, as they have nothing to do with the violence at all. The protesters should continue their work and gain support from other countries and supporters which are speaking out against the Iranian government or support from other governments. Many are speaking up for the protesters and against the government, including news sources such as NBC, who are getting this information to other countries and citizens who support this cause of the Iranian women. Because this is becoming such a big deal and is a true rallying cry for change, help from outside sources and parties may arrive or continue to tell the story of those in Iran. For example, in the US and Albania, they both focused a informal UN security meeting on Wednesday, November 2nd, so 2 days ago. And they have pushed to gain support from other countries and governments for the Iranian people, for who the most part disagree with a mandatory dress code. There was a survey conducted by Gaman, which is a survey company in Iran, I guess, and they stated in 2020 that over 72% of Iranians do not support a mandatory law to wear a hijab. Numbers have been said to increase since the death of Mahsa Amini and the raging protests regarding the unjust laws enforced by a power-hungry government. A note regarding what the UN meeting stated was the meeting will highlight the ongoing repression of women and girls and members of religious and ethnic minority groups in Iran, as stated by Michelle Nichols from the Reuters news source online. Exposing the government for abuses against women and certain religious groups, which showed the whole world what is going into effect today in Iran. This would get us one step closer to freedom for the women and religious minorities of Iran, who freely show who they are however they want to. Lastly, inalienable rights and the right to certain, if not all, freedoms should be given to those who are undermined by their governments, who do not care for the well-being of their citizens. Mahsa Amini was a symbol of freedom and justice to come, and the protesters and citizens of Iran need to keep forging forward for a better future and country for their country, and not give up against such a tyrannical force. Okay. Support the. So, in conclusion, please try to support those who are being oppressed by cruelty and power that seems limitless. Freedom isn't something that should be constricted or restricted, but it should be in the hands of all people. Power and freedom should and always will remain in the hearts of the people, and if it is taken away, it can be taken back with force and truth. And that's all I got. Any questions? AJ?
How can we help the women of Iran?
Well, there's a lot of ways we can do that. We can, first off, we can keep just talking about it, spread awareness, try to educate the masses about what's going on. And you can donate to groups such as the Human Resource Center of Iran. So far, that's all I know. Anyone else? Yep.
Why does the Iranian government want to enforce a dress code on women?
I'd say that for the most part, has to do with the power grab and like religious law that they've had for such a long time. It's all just a ploy for power, I would say. Anyone else? You're good? All right, cool. Have a good night.